Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
X-Files with graveyard shifts. Have any of you seen odd things? I work the graveyard shift from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. at a college residence hall, and the whole shift is usually dead quiet, which is why I'm on 4chan right now. The oddest thing I've seen so far is a man who decided to jog through the building at around 4 in the morning. He was wearing a gray hoodie and seemed like he was going from one end to another. What was odd was that the alarm system showed no doors opening or closing in the entire building, so according to that he never entered or left.
I don't work a graveyard shift, but I show up to work at 3 a.m., 2 hours before the next person shows up, and so on until we are all here. I just open the doors and make sure everything is okay for the day. Anyway, I work at a warehouse for a furniture store. The warehouse itself is pretty old and was once a manufacturing company of sorts, and a couple people had died previously due to work-related injury. Probably why it became a simple warehouse and not a factory anymore. Here's my story. Be me at 3 a.m. Walk the warehouse all alone. Lights are automated, only go off when movement is detected. Walking down the right side of the building to ensure the closing crew locked all the delivery bay doors. The warehouse is pretty dark, except for the trail of lights I tripped walking here. Look over to the other side of the warehouse. A single light had tripped. Lights don't trip on small movements like bugs or moths. Light is right in the middle of an aisle of couches. The next light trips. Then the next. The path is heading towards me. Head to the aisle to see if maybe it was another coworker. Another light trips. Nothing in the aisle. Great googlemoglies.jpg. Another light tripped. One more light trips. Notice the couches. Plastic wrap is moving as if something walked past them. Strands of tape wafting. Realize AC isn't on yet. No door open to create cross breeze. I have no clue. Then I feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Nope. Start to walk back to the front office. Still quite a few minutes walking distance. Pretty big warehouse. Doesn't matter, neck tingles still persistent. Can't shake the feeling of something behind me. Screw the rules. Run to the office. Made it back. Tingles fade. Phew. Never happened again. Other employees often talk about a sense of dread in certain parts of the warehouse. Especially at night. I'm the only one who comes to work that early, so I have no one else to confirm that this has happened before.
I'm a security guard at a local newspaper building in Britbong land up north. Only been working there for a couple of months. Building isn't that old. Built around the 1990s. First night. Be around 3 in the morning. Sit at a desk beside the window facing out onto the street. Comfy.jpg. 3 monitors in front of me cycling between cameras 1 to 30 every 5 seconds or so. All have motion detectors. Monitors cut immediately to a camera if it picks up anything. 3 escalators in front of me, all turned off. Watching Doctor Who on the computer, because why not? Suddenly, an escalator begins to move. Look over, frowning because I'm the only person in the building, and you need a key to turn them on, which is in my pocket. Go over, turn it off, resume Doctor Who. Half an hour or so later, 2 escalators turn on. Begin to get annoyed, turn them off, back to the iPlayer. Hour before shift ends, around 5:30 in the morning. Look at a 20-something camera. Usually shows a meeting room of some description on the 3rd floor. Showing static for some reason. Go up to check the camera. Room is fine. The back of the camera is unplugged. Plug in the camera, red light on, everything is fine. Take the lift back down to the lobby. Escalators on. All of them. What is this bullshit, WebEM? Turn them off again, return to the desk. Notice the imprint of a pair of hands condense and fade on the desk. All of the monitors turned off. As I say, I've been working there for a couple of months now. Usually that's all that happens. Monitors turning off, cameras being unplugged, escalators turning themselves on. A colleague of mine the other day said he saw someone walk across an office on the top floor, but he's a bit of an alkie, so I'm not sure whether to believe him or not. Never seen the hands appear since, though. That bit was a bit freaky.
Regularly work the night shift, 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. Happened to be off this particular night. Coworkers called me up to tell me the story, very upset. My face when I'm trying to actually get some sleep while it's dark outside for once. Oh wait, you guys might want the story to be around 2 a.m. Cash register has been bugging out, beeping and displaying 1986. The same year my husband was born. The restaurant is dead. Only a few customers are in the store, sitting on opposite ends of the place. A man with red hair and a long black coat walks in. Everyone says hello and acknowledges his presence, even other customers. He sits in a booth right next to the register. The waitress scurries over to get him set up, silverware. She looks up from the silverware holder and he is gone. Everyone is like WTF.jpg. Next morning they have the manager pull up CCTV. Sees everyone acknowledge someone coming in, but the door never even opens, and no one shows up on camera. It was about that time odd things were happening at work. You would see someone out of the corner of your eye. I did anyway. Just out of your peripheral vision, but still where you could catch a glimpse of a figure. Cooler lights that had been busted. After repeated attempts by the maintenance guy to fix over the years, I started randomly working again. The register continued to go all crazy and display 1986 randomly. Lights would flicker, would get intense cold spots randomly throughout the building at night. It went on for a while, but we ignored it because screw it, we have a job to do. Casper can get sassy all he wants, people still want their steak and eggs in a timely manner. It eventually calmed down, but still every once in a while things happen that can't be explained. Like sugar shakers will vanish and reappear somewhere random, same with salt and pepper. I think that's it. Aside from the IHOP I worked at for like 2 days. The original owner hung himself in the attic back in the 70s and decided to stick around and make sure things are running right. They literally had a buddy system in place for if you needed to get something from dry storage, which was upstairs. Same for if you had to change the syrup out for the soda fountain. That setup is in the room he hung himself in, which is also the room with attic access. And he doesn't like it when people go into the attic. At all. Electricians have been attacked and their ladders slung across the room. There is a huge metal door at the top of the stairs before you get to dry storage and the attic access room, as well as the manager's office, which was originally a closet, but they can no longer keep the office in the attic access room for obvious reason, and it would slam shut all the time. Would have to explain to customers what all the banging around was upstairs, not allowed to tell the truth, mind you. You would also hear the sounds of someone stomping around all the time, and this overwhelming feeling someone was eyeing you down while in dry storage. Like a penny-pinching manager that doesn't think Table 4 really needs more ketchup. I think that's it really.
Be a night shift security guard. Work in a nice office building in a nice neighborhood. Always just me and one other guard in the entire building. Literally no crime, no problems, basically just surf around on the internet all night. Only have cameras on the first floor and parking lot, so if you're on any other floor, you can do whatever. It's literally the cushiest job ever. They've got huge flat screen TVs, Wi-Fi, a nice gym, expensive coffee machines, and tons of other shit. Every single door is locked by keycard, so the building is extremely secure. Just started my shift. Go to floor 2. Notice someone left a light on in the south wing. A lot of lights here are motion activated, but this one just uses a light switch. Happens sometimes, so I just turn it off and go back to doing a quick patrol so I can get back to surfing the internet. Finish that up, eventually the other security guard does a patrol. It's about 2 hours after my shift started, and I go on another patrol to stretch my legs. Go to floor 2, south wing. A motion sensing light is on, right next to the light switch I turned off 2 hours ago, which is still off. The motion sensing lights are only supposed to stay on for 15 minutes. Me and the other guard had been sitting next to each other for the last hour. I go back to the security room to tell the other guard about it and ask if he knows what's up with it. He says that when he was there, the light switch was on, and he turned it off himself. I'm 100% sure that I had already turned it off. He says he hasn't seen or heard anything, but since there's no security cameras on floor 2, we have no idea what if anything could have activated the light. I decide to go back up to floor 2 to check it out again, and I tell the other guard that if he doesn't hear from me soon to call my cell phone. Our security company never bothered to issue us radios. Go back up to floor 2. The light switch is back in the on position. Motion sensing light still on. At this point I'm genuinely concerned. Consider just running downstairs and calling the cops. I figure that if it turns out to be nothing, I'd look like a huge coward. Security guard called the police because a light switch was in the wrong position. Decide to check out more of the south wing. I suddenly hear a loud banging noise. I jump a bit and start to freak out. Then I remember that when the AC comes on it makes a loud banging noise. Calm down and check out the rest of the wing. Only takes another 2 or 3 minutes. No signs of intruders. All doors locked tight. Nothing broken or missing. Look at my watch and see that I've been at this for about 20 minutes now. Start wondering why the other guard hasn't called me yet. I lean up against an air vent and take out my phone. Start going through my contacts list to call him myself. Hang on a second. The air vent isn't blowing any air. Nope. Call the other guard's phone. No answer. Lock myself in an office. Call 911. I tell the dispatcher what happened and he says the cops are coming. Asks where I am and I tell him. Asks if the police will be able to get into the building themselves. Shit. All doors are locked. Run through the building, down to the main entrance, and run outside. Wait for the cops outside while still on the phone with 911. The cops get there. I let them in and brought them to the security room. No sign of the other guard at all. The computer that displays the security cameras is turned off. Give each of the cops one of the spare security cards so they can search the building. They find no trace of the other guard in the building. His car is still parked in the parking lot. He's still missing to this day.
I've been working the graveyard shift, 10:30 to 8 o'clock, for a while now and haven't seen anything too strange, other than a creepy kind of vibe around that time. However, I think that comes mostly from how empty and quiet an area is during that time in contrast to the business of the day. I do have one story, though, which I will share. Be me in the Navy. Get stationed at an ancient jet base in the crumbling arid wastes of the Central Valley of California. Would have been creepy enough without the occurrences that followed. Get pulled to stand watch in a dirty old hangar filled with broken jets. Basically play security guard for 4 hours. Just me there in the hangar, so I pull out my phone, take a seat in a corner, and read books on my phone. Should be chill, I thought. At this point, it is 2 a.m., about an hour more into the watch, and it's around 3 a.m. My thoughts of calm relaxation sink into a strong sense of dread. I try to play it off skeptic style. Note that at this point, the hangar was still well lit by overhead floodlights. Around 15 minutes after this feeling of fear and utter dread, all the lights in the hangar go out one by one, leaving me in semi-darkness. The only light now comes from the streetlights outside filtering through the hangar bay doors. Screw it. Keep reading my book. The lights probably always go out around this time, and anyone would be creeped out in this weird hangar. I stop reading my book and go patrol around. It's cold. Strange for the hangar to be this cold. Suddenly I hear a loud crash from one of the jets. Almost shit myself. Run over to investigate. Nothing there, everything in the exact same spot. Freaking out at this point. Sit down and try to clear my head and talk myself out of how freaked I am. Notice that a long metal cable above my head tying down one of the jets begins to shake and wobble. Suddenly stops. I slowly, deliberately reach out to touch it. I reach out to touch this metal wound cable rod. It is so strong and the tension on it so tight that even with all of my force, I can't get it to move so much as a centimeter. At this point, I'm sure I let out an audible whimper. I sit down and close my eyes for a second. Can this really be happening type shit? I start to hear music, faint chimes, but music off in the distance behind the hangar bay doors. No one there, and more so, I can't even pinpoint where it's coming from. It was about 15 minutes later, and I was almost having a panic attack from fear and dread, shaking in my chair. Have what I can only describe as a vision. I almost considered omitting this part because it sounds ridiculous and is hard to explain. I saw this, but I didn't see it. It's more like I was forced to imagine it, I guess. I would just call it a vision. See in the vision a horrible, ghastly, burned-looking face appears out of the exhaust port of one of the old jets. Leers at me through peeling and burned flesh with a horrible, pleading look on its face. At this point, I positively force myself to not look up for the rest of the night and read my book relentlessly. Hear multiple crashes, but don't look up for anything. In the morning, sun comes up and I feel better. Take a look around. Not a single item out of place. Watch Relief shows up. Next shift, basically. He asks me with a shocked look, "You were in here all night?" I say, "Yeah," with a look like, "Shouldn't I have been?" He says he doesn't know anyone who would dare stay in this hangar overnight for this watch, and everyone usually just sits in the smoking area outside till the end of the watch. Says the hangar is known to be haunted by everyone on base. I mentally shit bricks. Told me a story about how someone on watch here saw an old woman in the hangar. When they went to investigate, she dissipated into shadow. Multiple other stories as well. Owls are drawn to roost in this hangar. Finally, he tells me a lieutenant died in this hangar years ago. I don't ask, but I think I know how. I walk away and drive home shaking. Feel partly relieved that I'm not insane. On the other hand, I think I may have had genuine paranormal experience.
Worked as a mall cop for a winter. Bazillion and 12 little entrances and exits to secure. The place is creepy as hell when empty. Abandoned stores from the 1970s and 1980s walled off. Customers have no idea they exist. Still can access them through service tunnels. One in particular creeped me out. Closed Chuck E. Cheese kind of restaurant. Remaining lights inside on 24/7. Still a ton of crap from the 1990s in there. Broken animatronic animals leaned against walls and in closets. Costumes for mall Halloween and Christmas events stored there as well. Forest of artificial Christmas trees, outdated mannequins, shoulder-high piles of Christmas lights. Always really hate going there. Nobody ever talked about it, but if called to go in there, we'd never go alone. Lock up connecting service tunnels early each time. Occasionally hear dragging noises from the other side of the wall. Ignore, nope. Get sent by the mall office to grab a reindeer thingy. 2 maintenance with Dolly, me, and 1 other mall cop. Unlock service tunnel entrance, pry open sticky door. Pops open. One of the animatronics is right up against the door. Nearly shit ourselves. One guy stays out in the hallway while I and the others go in. The reindeer thing isn't where it was supposed to be. Searching all over this creepy indoor forest full of empty costumes, Christmas lights, and mannequins, the flashlight goes dead. Clump together with the maintenance guy with the remaining flashlight. Find reindeer on the prep table in the old kitchen. Haul it out, leave the restaurant ASAP. Can't lock the door fast enough. Last weekend at the mall, locking up. Light flickers once. Hear a split second of what sounded like muffled children's laughter. Sound was coming from across the wall. Sprint out of that entire wing of the mall. 3 years later, and the knowledge that the lights are on in that room as we speak still gnaws at me.
Be once 16-year-old me. Be an early riser and early goer to school. Early bird catches the early worm.jpg. Go to school at about 5:10. Classes start at 6. School is deserted, only guards are there, even the teachers aren't in yet. LOL, you know what that means. WEBM. Walk up the wooden stairs, really old and creaky. Lights are turned off, the switch is on the end of the stairs. So it's like walking through a dark upward tunnel. Not afraid of the dark. Go through 2 more floors without turning any lights on. I wish I did. Reach my floor, go in front of my classroom, without any lights turned on. Drop my bag, and decide to roam around the halls. My school was built on the site of a former cemetery, now there's a church and a school built on it. The church is right beside the school. Students report seeing weird shit every time. One time, at noon, during a classroom orientation, someone knocked on the door, they opened it, and no one was in. Teacher just told them to get used to it. Another time, the choir was practicing for mass, a small boy pushed the door open and sat at the back of class. And my own experience, taking a piss when I was in 3rd grade, and seeing a crying coward by the bathroom. I got called to the principal's office and they tried to disprove me. Don't care. Walk through the hallway. I get an eerie sense of dread, like someone was watching me from the classrooms, which have long transparent windows. Turn right. No one's there. Turn back to the front of the dark hallway. Suddenly, someone's there. What? A figure is standing there. Taller than me. And I was 5'10" when I was 16. Being an idiot, I approached the figure slowly instead of running away. Thought it was just a figment of my imagination. Keep approaching it. Figure doesn't move. I was 2 classrooms away from it. Ready to bolt right front and scream at the guy. Get ready to sprint. Bends down. Suddenly someone taps me on the back. Nope.jpg. Run like a coward, turn around and run to the back. My directional ability is screwed up. It's too dark, and 10 years of walking around the school and directions just went away. I keep running around, I don't care. Go through a series of hallways, still feeling that someone's following me. Oh no. Run away to the grade schoolers' TLE lab. Like, it's the cooking lab, with a small, practice house that has a fridge and a one-person bedroom. Thankfully it isn't locked. Shut the door behind me, run from the kitchen of sorts down to the end of the room where the practice house was in. Lock the door, jump in the practice bedroom, lock it. Keep myself occupied with the kitchen knife from the lab. Hear footsteps creaking even though I locked it shut. Feel my body shake and shake. Even my dick is hard from all the draining adrenaline. Cold sweat. Loud bang on the door. Nope. Another loud bang. Nope. Suddenly eerie silence. Shakily opens the door. The vase on top of the practice kitchen is broken, so was the glass on the table. Yeah, nope. Run back to my classroom, and finally reach it in 2 minutes. It was still dark. I couldn't turn on the lights, I was too frightened. I sat in front of the classroom was locked so I needed to stay out. Suddenly, look inside the classroom through the long transparent windows. The figure was sitting on the teacher's table. Noped out of there, runs down, miraculously doesn't trip down. I ran to the guards, all pale and shaking. Tell them the story. Guards walk up to the room and turn on all the lights. Some dozen students finally went to school and talked with me throughout. They brought the only priest who's awake with them. The priest was done, and simply told me to pray and go to confession daily. What? Go ask the guards instead. He told me that my classroom was broken. The trash can was discarded, the windows were open, the AC were turned on, the chairs were thrown about, and the whiteboard was split in half with a huge crack. They told me to take 3 days off, and I get exempted on every quiz taken provided I don't speak of this again. LOL, yeah, right.
Nothing paranormal, but your basic creepy moderator. Work nights at this department store/Target. The department store is kinda local shops and stuff on the second floor, and the Target on the first. Everyone couldn't be nicer, but then there's Richard, old, clay-looking, late 40s, early 50s, not fat, but not in shape either, missing a bunch of teeth. One of the older dudes basically says he's kind of special. His job is simply to clean the outdoor parking garage. However, from time to time, he sneaks up on people, or stares at them from afar until he notices you and then does the gimpest wave. He often mumbles ominously from time to time. He even watches people up close sleeping on the job. One female manager even switched her shift because he gave her the creeps. One night I have to help him dump some garbage. He flips shit because I'm using his gloves. His whole waterhead accent disappears and says I better not mess with him or my ass is his. 2 months later we got a new night manager, some soccer mom looking Karen. She tells Richard to clean the garages like normal. An hour into the shift he calls her to the garage with our walkie-talkies were given. A few minutes later she lets out the most hellish scream over the radio. Basically, this idiot called her over to the garage and started moderating as soon as she got close to him and tried to pull her face close to him. He left the job that night, got arrested the following morning. Not scary, but he was just one of those off guys that gave you the worst kind of feeling ever.
I work as a security guard at a castle, and we have a station that has to be manned 24/7, so people are there day and night, and sometimes I have to work until morning as well, especially whenever we have some sort of event or party, hosting a concert. After the concert is finished and most of the guests have left, I'm ready to lock up the toilets which are in the vaults of the castle. On my way, an old lady asks me if I have seen her friend who apparently went to the toilet a while back and hasn't returned yet. I haven't seen anyone entering the building for a while, but I promise to take a look as I lock down the building. Being a bit afraid something might have happened to the person in question, went down to the toilet area, entered the women's toilets, and opened every door of each stall. We have to do this to make sure no one gets locked in. Last one, being a bit afraid I might have to deal with a dead visitor or something else, opening the door slowly, just getting a glimpse of something solid black behind the door, partially blocking the view. This is rather unsettling, so open the door quickly to see what's behind it. It's empty. Lock down the building, return to the castle courtyard. The old lady is gone. This is the only thing that happened to me, which was slightly out of the ordinary. It's a bit disappointing, though, as the castle has seen war, destruction, and death, and was partly used as a military hospital at one point. Our guard station was the sick bay, so one could expect some paranormal activity.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.